Man, like a tree, is nourished by his roots. His roots grow in different parts of the world. The branches of his family tree spread out for thousands of years and kilometers. Among them are iconic, sacred ones. But he considers himself a son of the Kazakh land, the land where the nomads of the Great Steppe reached the highest goals. Arman Umar Hodziyev, traveler, historian, archaeologist, in the new City of Masters series of the Dala project.
Every person's life is a journey, and if they meet interesting people along the way, then it turns into a colorful patchwork, like these works of art that Gulmira Ualikhan creates in her workshop every day.
In our country, people call it Kura Korpe. Kura Korpe is a generalized name for what we do. Gulmira Ualikhan, founder and head of the Patchwork studio, who revives the traditional Kura craft. Participant and winner of national and international festivals and exhibitions of applied arts. Recipient of World Crafts Council's Award of Excellence.
So, you are a Kurakshi.
Yes, I am. People often ask what kind of education I have. Well, I've studied finances. I like to say that there is a higher education and there is a divine education. I used to work in the financial sector, and I had great prospects, a promising career, and so on. But, you know, there is such a moment in your life. Everyone in the world, and generally in the universe, has it, when you cannot resist your calling. When something inside you tells you to do this right now, and you can't do anything about that. You just go and try to sew these squares together. And then slowly it all somehow gets out of control and you can't understand how or why. You just do this. Study, deepen your knowledge, go to international festivals and so forth. This is a complex matter. It's in our DNA. Our ancestors rode horses and selected and raised fine fleece merino sheep. We also made Kura Korpe. It's just that it all got lost at some point.
How did that happen?
Everything in the world is cyclical. One cycle has ended, the cycle of the formation of our state. And our parents fell out of this system. They earned a living, tried to survive, while our grandmothers took care of culture and all this. And now we, their grandchildren, do the same. Something happened to me when I gave birth to my fourth son. I was bored. I needed to do something. I saw the patchwork somewhere and started digging, learning more and more. This, as it turns out, is such a treasure. It resonated with me. Turns out it's in my genes. One of my grandfathers was a very powerful man. He was a shaman, in other words. This gift was passed down from generation to generation. And my mother, before she passed away, she warned me not to be afraid if it all manifests itself. So I waited as if at the train station, wondering when will I become magical and start helping people. And then I realized that Qasiyet is not only about healing people, searching for herds of horses and expelling genies. Qasiyet can also be channeled through art. This is the first patchwork quilt we made. First is first. It has all the errors, all the flaws and mistakes. A craftsman from Astana has sewn this star and sent it to us. A person from Aqtobe made this star. We received stars from every city in the country. The idea was to combine all regions in one quilt. A Girim from Astana made this one. This is called the Tree of Life. It denotes the present. These branches denote our family, our children and grandchildren. The lower part denotes our ancestors. I look at it now and think, God, how could we sew something like this? It's interesting how every time people come, they want to unwrap this and look at it. So many beautiful works hanging on the walls, but no, they want to see this one.
I remember once I came to my grandma and we went to visit her friend. And there I stepped into the world of these colorful patchworks. For some reason, this is one of my most vivid childhood memories. You decorated our studio with so many things. I just can't wait to ask about each piece separately. Let's start with what we have on the table.
This is Mahabat Jastagha, a pillow for love. Everything has a practical meaning, both in color and use. Everyone knows that ornaments are divided into zoomorphic, geometric, floral, yes, and cosmogonic. A zoomorphic ornament depicts the animal world.
Every animal has its own symbolism and purpose, right?
Of course, I always say that the Kazakhs should be proud of being livestock breeders. But we're starting to forget. People are all busy with their modern lives. Every person has a totem animal.
By the way, how to determine your totem animal?
You can find out using your date of birth and other data. It will strengthen you. For example, you know what your forte is. You have an analytical mind, you know how to calculate things, and you can use it to earn money and work with finances, right? And thanks to this, you become a successful person. Well, just like that, knowing our sacred and esoteric aspects can also strengthen us.
What about these?
These are two different pillows. The reverse side will be just a soft fabric, so you can lie down. If you will be lying down on this side, it first of all will wear off, which will be a pity, and it has stitches, so it's less comfortable.
So, this side is decorative. You'll need to turn it over to sleep.
Yes, turn it over and sleep.
They are almost identical. What is this symbol?
This is a star.
As I can see, many ornaments here have nothing in common with Kazakh ones.
They do. Do you know the popular Qoshqar Muse ornament? The ram's horn? The four-sided one? It has so many meanings. So does the star. The center is a square. It's a symbol of stability and sustainability. A three-legged table will not stand properly. It will be unstable, easy to knock down. The square also represents the four cardinal directions. The square means power, strength, stability. Triangles represent mountains, which are also signs of strength.
So the square in the center means balance.
This piece is made with Kazakh ornaments. This is a floral ornament. For clothing, you can use everything floral. Even if you say, I'm a man, I want the ram's horn, I want a powerful triangle, so they would empower me, I will do it all in a floral manner. I can draw a design which will include your triangles, Qoshqar Muse, and everything you want, but in a floral manner, so you will grow and prosper. This looks beautiful. At this masterclass, they showed us how to wind one bead at a time. You wind them while rolling them up, and when you let them down, they come out folded. I don't know how our grandmothers did it with just a needle.
Are there any standards in the making of Kurak?
Everything must be in balance, including the balance of color. The Kazakhs always used dark tones, dark colors in patchwork. This quilt, for example, has all the shades. The more I do this, the less white I want to use. I want to use muted tones. Apparently, I'm connected more and more to my DNA.
I see green colors too.
Look at it this way. This piece is going to be in front of our eyes every day. It can either calm and motivate you and fill you with energy, or, if it's in cooler tones with sharp corners and high contrast, it will overexcite you and cause you aggression.
Geographically, Kazakhstan is huge. There's north, south, west, and east. Are there any special features to different regions?
We have tribal symbols. I myself am Arghun. I am from the north. We have our own sign. If you look at the Kura Korpe in the west, they will have an arrow. This is the symbol of Adai tribe. These symbols make the difference. This work is an example of Arghun piece. People ask me, why is this one Arghun? Does it have some kind of an Arghun ornament? No, there is no Arghun ornament. But the design, I came up with it. This is a small version of it. It's supposed to be 2.5 by 2.5 meters. And when the time comes, and I'll be gone, and by that time, believe me, I will try to hook everyone on a needle. Every woman in Kazakhstan will be addicted to the needle. I will teach everyone. And this design will be known as the Arghun design. You've seen it on carpets. This is a classic Kazakh ornament. We are slowly moving away from it, but we will not be able to move away from it completely because it's ours. All patchwork pieces are amulets. Here on this wall is the Kazakh Tuskiz carpet made entirely of Kurak. It has its own rules. 3 sides of it are closed, while the lower side is left open. It symbolizes the continuation of the lineage. It's very beautiful. Tuskis should hang in the most visible place in a home so that when people look at it, they admire the work, they say how beautiful it is, they spend their energy on it, so they won't have energy to jinx you or your home. Some combination is contrasting here. Something looks very cool. This is a very stylish color. You can see the artist's style. You can see that he or she likes vintage. We used to make large stripes to bring this all together. Now we try to make everything smaller. So yeah, this is what we got in the end. We tell a book's worth of stories in each piece. I had a client once, a girl. She was getting married in a year, and she wanted to give her husband one of our quilts. She asked if she could send me 7,000 tenge every month, so that by the end of the year she would collect, say, 80,000, with which she would buy the quilt from us. When we sewed this quilt, we filled it with all the signs, meanings, ornaments, Qurak and all, made it so powerful so that their marriage would be a happy one.
How many patches are sewn together in this piece?
600 just for this one piece.
It seems to me that when you create something like this, you are in a particularly meditative state, which for sure led you to discover the Qurak philosophy.
Life is the art of sewing Qurak. I can briefly explain it like this. I have a daughter. She comes one day and says, "Mom, I want to marry this guy. But I see that the guy is not very good." I say, "Honey, this guy is not for you." She's like, "No, I love him." I say, "Okay." And so I'm sewing a Qurak thinking about all this. They get married, I sew something white, I'm in a good mood. And then they give birth to a child, a son. I sew a blue patch, I program it so that the child would be healthy. That is, as a mother, for every event in their life, I sew a certain patch. They have a conflict, they fight, they say they want to get a divorce. I sew in dark colors, I'm in such a mood, I feel bad. Also, after the child was born, he grows up a little. I take his clothes so as not to throw them away. I take a piece, cut it out, put it aside. And so, when I will be old and they had become a family, they weathered storms together, I finally put all the pieces together into one patchwork quilt. And I cover the two of them with it, saying, "Well done, this is your life, you went through it all together."
And this is where the magic happens.
You see this detail in the middle? When we were only starting, we used to make things like this. We took a very beautiful print and looked at what colors it had. Then we took the same fabrics and made them into a frame.
When you sit down to sew, do you already know what the final product will be, or do you decide it in the process?
I drew the argan design in advance and painted it too. What else could I do during the pandemic? Only draw, paint and sew. This one was made like this. This piece is called sampler. This is a sample. We sew many different samples. This one is made in a certain color. And then we put it together. How exactly it's going to look like, I don't know.
Is that the influence of ancestors?
The influence of life in general. Just like the flow of water, it won't be the same the second time.
You can read Kazakh Kuraks well. Can you, for example, read Kyrgyz or Uzbek ones?
I don't think the Uzbeks have the Qurak. I didn't see. The Kyrgyz have the Qurak, and of course it's different. They have a Qattama Qurak. This is a Kazakh Qurak, only a little bit different, and all its variations. They use monochromatic fabrics. Black, red, and white colors predominate. I studied Koshkar Muse so that we, the Turkic peoples, could share knowledge with each other.
Вопрос, когда я начинала заниматься кураком, я сама себе задавала, как сделать курак именно произведением искусства и чем это будет отличаться.
When I started making kuraks, I asked myself a question. How to make Qurak a work of art, and how will it differ from everything else? And I think that when you invest something personal into a quilt, when Qurak turns from just a wall or floor carpet into a work that says something, it's important. Through your work, you can talk about social and environmental problems, or you can just express your feelings. In 2021, we launched an Eco-Qurak project, which is about the recycling of sewing waste. One of the factors of air pollution in the city of Bishkek was the burning of sewing waste. When burned, they emit black toxic smoke, which is then carried by the wind throughout the city. This is when we had an idea that instead of burning the material, we can sew something using it. We can sell the resulting piece and use the money to buy high-quality fuel or pay for electricity.
Чтобы сжигать, можно сшить какое-то изделие, продать и на эти же деньги купить уже качественное топливо, либо свет оплатить.
Gulmira, your works can rightly be called designer pieces, but still, how can we distinguish them from all the fast-moving consumer goods?
Once, a woman texted me. She was in her 70s. She called and said, "Gulmira, I will soon travel abroad. My daughter is getting married and our Qudalar are foreigners. We want to impress them with our Kazakh culture. We want to buy a piece from you as a gift for Qudagi, mother of the groom." I say, "Yes, sure, come and have a look." My schedule is tight and nothing is ever available, no ready quilts. So I text my students asking them to bring their quilts, whatever they have. They brought it all, we hang them out beautifully, and this delegation comes in. This elegant woman and an entire delegation of her daughters, sons, their spouses, children, about 15 to 20 people. She looks at me and says, "Not one of these pieces were made by you. I can distinguish the energy of your quilt from the energy of the person who sewed this one. All these works are of your students." I was so ashamed.
Coming back to your connection with the ancestors, the khasiyat, how do you feel its influence? How does it manifest itself?
We live in a time of mental connection between people. Previously, when I entered a room, people used to hate me right away. I had a difficult personality and people could read it on a mental level. And now, working with Kura for so long, I've reached a point when I go in, everyone says, "You want to get up out of respect." If you practice Kura for a long time, at least for a year, it enhances your strength and removes your weaknesses. A lot of women who couldn't conceive, even due to serious illnesses, were then able to have a baby. And it's not because I'm cool, I have such a khasiyat, nothing like that. It's because she started sewing. I can tell her to sew 600 little pieces, to iron 600 pieces, and she will do that, not thinking about anything else. I tell her to cut 12 strips, each 3 centimeters wide, and she does that. She's there, thinking, calculating, developing her brain, while the thoughts of a child and IVF, they all fade away. She's busy counting. And then I can tell her, "Look at these 2 colors. One of them sticks out. You need to change that. You need to find the balance so that each next block would coordinate in color with the next one." The person is busy with creating, and all her psychological troubles go away. As a mother of 6, I can say that the stress that every woman in our society is subjected to is killing a child in its conception. And for a woman to be in harmony, for a woman not to experience stress, she must be passionate about something.
So you are saying that this craft has a psychotherapeutic effect on people?
When women from different social strata come and start sewing, they tell their stories and then they think, "Wow, my problems, as it turns out, are not so terrible." Here they reassess everything. This is also a moment of solitude. You are one-on-one with yourself, and you can just sit down and sew and think, "God, I feel good." All this together brings a person to balance, makes them different, heals them. When we look at the works, we find them pleasing, so they help us calm down. Also, we develop our fine motor skills. We are sewing or clipping something all the time. Our fingers are always working. Nerve endings are always working. Our brain is also busy. It needs to calculate. We should have 32 squares measuring 5 by 5 centimeters. It will shrink by 3.5 centimeters after we seam it.
Do you think our ancestors possessed the knowledge you possess, or was it just intuitive? They sat down their daughters and granddaughters and taught them.
This is a great question. To be honest, you do not need to explain anything. People always had a sense of pride. They think that they know everything. You don't have to explain anything to anyone. Just sit them down and make them sew. And in a month of sewing, they will understand everything without me. My grandmother taught me like this. She was making a sarmak, a felt carpet. She was 80. Little me was sitting next to her asking, "Can I please go outside to play?" She said, "No, sit here. Thread this needle for me. I don't see well." And I sat there just to do this one thing. I threaded the needle, and that was it. God, I was so bored. She taught me perseverance this way. And so I grew up and realized there is no need to explain anything to anyone. You just teach them silently. Tell them, "Do this, and you will understand when you grow up." Oh, we need to go. You've seen her works and we'll come and support her. All of her work in the same style.
We talked about almost everything: the origins, the philosophy, the techniques, the ornaments, but we did not talk about one thing: the wisdom of the people who invented it all.
What is shashbao for? It can be used in so many ways.
Shashbao are traditional braided jewelry worn by Kazakh women.
It has a lot of great meanings. One of the main ones was, of course, showing the manners of a young girl. Parents would braid a shashbao into a girl's pigtail from a very young age, which was supposed to teach her to have a good posture. When she would walk, the shashbao should not have hit her back and make a sound. When guests would come, the grown-up girl would help out, sit down, get up. The shashbao should not make a sound at any point. This alone would serve as an indicator of a good bride, if she's well-mannered, complacent, and all that. At night, in the steppe, when young men would wait for their girlfriends, they could determine whose girl was coming just by the sound of shashbao. We often saw a dowry for the bride. Everything matters there. People often ask me, how many Kura Korpe should there be? Kura Korpe are those long quilts used to sit on the floor when drinking tea. There must be an odd number of them, plus a Mahabbat Korpe, a quilt of love. If you have guests over, what size the Korpe should be for them? It should fit an adult, a tall one, because if the guests stay overnight, each of them would sleep on one such quilt, so it had to fit them, so they could sleep comfortably on it. Each girl should also have a Kelinchai Korpe. Its size is about 85 by 85 centimeters. A mother should sew one for her daughter. When a girl gets married and goes to the home of her husband, when they receive guests, the guests sit on these beautiful Kura Korpe. And so for the bride not to sit on the floor when pouring tea, her mother would sew her a beautiful Kelinchai Korpe, so that the girl would feel herself comfortable there, like at home. When I just got married, my mother-in-law gave me her Kelinchai Korpe. Then, when my husband's brother got married and a new daughter-in-law came, they told me to give the Korpe to her. This meant that I will no longer pour tea in this household, that the status was transferring to another person, and I became Jolurken, the elder one. All this is passed down from generation to generation. Khorjin is a beautiful and festive bag. What was it made for? When a girl got married, her relatives would bring her dowry in the khorjins filled with all sorts of sweets and leave it. The bag would be emptied and the mother of the groom would put this bag aside. When a child would be born or some other celebration would take place, the mother of the groom would take this bag, khorjin, fill it with presents, and take it to the family of the bride. So khorjin connects two households, two clans, serves as a connection point. This beautiful bag is filled with all sorts of sweets and is carried during celebrations from one household to another, endlessly, back and forth.
Связующей нитью эта сумка наполняется красивая всякими сладостями и переносится по хорошим событиям с одного дома в другой, без конца туда-сюда.
Khorjin – это такая походная сумка.
Khorjin is a travel patchwork bag. It was used for transportation of different things on a horse. It's a flip bag with two compartments. You could also throw it over your shoulder and travel on foot.
Делали переметную сумку.
The saddlebag for a horse would be made simpler. For a wedding, it would be festive. They would also hang rings, earrings, other jewelry for people to take as a gift, so that there would also be a wedding in their house. We call it Jogstobolsen. Let it stick to you.
Была свадьба. Мысли материальные.
Thoughts materialize. We get what we ask for. If we believe something, it will happen. Dreams do come true. We are a multinational country, and here I tell the story of a multinational country. I will include the Uzbek adras, the Tajik suzani, the Belarusian embroidery, some Russian gzhel motifs, and so on. So, if I sew every day, and I give it the meaning of prosperity in our country, the meaning of all peoples living as friends, they will be friends.
Чтобы все народы дружили, они будут дружить.
So, we can draw the following conclusion. Kasiyat, a gift from above, does not live in everyone, but you can read it in the final product.